Infinite Fusions allows you to take any two Pokemon and mash them together to create over 176,000 horrors. So I decided to get spooky with it and do a Ghost type only Nuzlocke of the game. The rules are simple. We can only use Pokemon fusions that have the Ghost typing, and once we fuse two Pokemon, we are not allowed to unfuse it. So that means every Pokemon fusion we do, we have to be 100% sure about. There are no first encounter limitations on catching Ghost Pokemon, but for every other Pokemon, it's first come, first serve, and if a Pokemon faints, they're donezo. You've all seen how a Nuzlocke works, but before we get into it, here's a word from our sponsor. Let me introduce you to Honkai Impact 3rd, a 3D cross-platform anime action game from the Hoyoverse, the makers of a little game known as Genshin Impact and the upcoming Honkai Star Rail. Honkai Impact 3rd is an exciting ARPG that's anime role-playing game that you do not want to miss out on, and with the new 6.6 update, the entire game is evolving. The game has a little something for everyone: awesome action, a vast world to explore, an engaging storyline, and amazing character design. A lot of amazing character design. The 6.6 update introduces your old friend Hare, who's finally hopping on board, and our Battlesuit Dreamweaver even has two forms during battle. The 6.6 update also introduces new events, new story, and of course, new character outfits, which I'm not gonna lie is my favorite part of the game. Check the pinned comment below to become a legend yourself and use code NEWCHAPTER to get 30 crystals, 2,888 asteroids, and one character trial card for free. And now back to our regular scheduled Nuzlocke. Our first task is of course to choose our starter Pokemon, but there's not really a ghost type starter. A ghost type starter Pokemon in this game. So we opted to go with Ghastly, who we named Fart. I promise I am an adult with an adult sense of humor. At first I was really excited because early on none of these Pokemon's tackles or scratches from anything could hit us. I was invincible until I realized our only attacking move was Lick, so we also couldn't do any damage. We needed another Pokemon and fast. Luckily nearby we were able to catch our second ghost type Pokemon, a Duskull, and since I'm thirsty for just a drop of Persona 6, please Atlas, I bought a PS5 for Persona 5. We named them Ryuji. We vowed to fuse them with the very first Pokemon we found, and it turned out to be a Ralts, so please, you all, be kind to them when they grow up. This fusion is just what we need to get past the first couple trainers and finally do some damage to Pokemon. So we started heading north through Viridian City, and our first encounter— you know, I've spent so many hours in Pokemon fusions, I'm surprised this is the first shiny Pokemon I've ever found, and that's my first encounter too! Not to mention we get both a shiny Roserade and shiny Talonflame. Or we would. See ya! Now before you scream at your monitors for intentionally committing a Pokemon war crime, please keep this in mind that there's another Pokemon I need to catch here, Nincada. We named this Nincada Piotr after my favorite bug-themed superhero, but we won't be able to use them until they shed their skin. This is the Pokemon I sacrificed 2 shinies for, and this Pokemon is the one that is going to save this entire run. But for now, we have to struggle with the first gym leader, Brock, who in this game has Steel-type Pokemon. So you probably know that Ghost types usually aren't available early on in Pokemon games, and there's a reason for that. They suck. Between Fart and Ryuji, my only stab moves are Lick and Astonish. Not to mention, Ghost types aren't very effective against Steel types. Ryuji is also part fairy, so they're actually weak to all of their moves. Since we're only allowed to use 2 Pokemon for this gym fight, I have a huge challenge in front of me. In my mind, there are 2 win conditions to get through this battle with no casualties. The first was getting Fart through Shroomish Pawniard with over half of their health, which was a struggle considering how much this damn thing likes to spam Leech Seed. We had to keep switching out until we got off a Lucky Paralysis. And now it's time for phase 2 of our plan, which once again involves putting this Steelix Mime Jr. to sleep. Now I can finally use my ace in the hole, Curse. Curse is a terrible move for a Nuzlocke, but in this case it comes in handy. If you don't know, it takes away half of your Pokemon's health, and in exchange, every turn your enemy's Pokemon will lose a quarter of theirs. We immediately switch out to Ryuji, and since Steelix Mime Jr. is asleep, we just start double teaming. This thing is going to wake up soon, but we managed to survive because of our evasion boosting. Thank goodness we got through that. I didn't think I'd have to think this early on. Next stop is Mount Moon, where we're able to catch the next member of our party, an Aeron. Now, Aeron isn't a ghost type, sure, but they do make a great fusion for Fart. I promise that name was funnier in my head. But look at them, they're the prettiest Fart I've ever seen. We quickly foil Team Rocket's master plan of fusing 3 Pokemon together, which, spoilers, is going to be dangerous later. Bring Ryuji one step closer to the dark side of the Pokemon fandom, and arrive at Cerulean City. All that cave dwelling is enough to get Piotr to evolve, and immediately throw them in the trash. Because where Piotr is going to be useless for this run, Parker will shine. And good thing too, because we need something good to carry us through the Misty Fight. For the uninformed, Shedinja is one of the most unique Pokemon ever, because it only has 1 health. In exchange, its signature ability, Wonder Guard, has the potential to just be absolutely broken, and nullifies any attacking move that is not super effective. So with a great typing, it can be nearly invincible. I decided I wanted to make Shedinja a Ghost and Normal type, because then it could only be damaged by Dark type moves or things like Sandstorm or Poison. But the only Normal type Pokemon I had to fuse them with was this Smeargle. Parker may not look intimidating, but I promise you, there is a beast inside him waiting to get out. With our new art school Eldritch Horror, it was time for Misty's ice types. The key to winning this fight was defeating her Glaceon Tyrogue as fast as possible. If it sets up Hail, Parker is completely useless and we just get swept. So it's up to Fart to be able to put them to sleep and knock them out with an Iron Head. Misty's Lapras Mantine is as cute as it is intimidating, but on the other hand, Wonder Guard. I forgot to mention earlier, but we also caught a Drifloon named Carl. He's adorable, and I love him, and I'm sure he won't meet a terrible fate at our hands. Next stop is Vermilion City, where we get to go on a boat. The fun thing about Ghost-type Pokemon is that every cruise I'm on is haunted, especially by the ghost of our rival's Raticate. And how about we go and fulfill that prophecy in a battle? Now, there have been other rival fights, but because they weren't too difficult or exciting, I cut them out of this video. But here is our rival, Dildong. Wow, I was really in a naming slump during this run, huh? They open with a Cottony Luxio that, spoilers, will eventually become God. But that's not today, because Fart and Parker are able to team up and pull a Final Fantasy, destroying them. Next, we have an Incata Pawniard. Oh, Piotr. This is awkward. Sorry that we have to meet again like this. No hard feelings though, right? Anyway, Ryuji burns them to lower their attack so that we can switch Fart in for the W. Fart's able to sweep the rest of their team, including a Solosis Eevee and a Feebas Slugma, to get us the victory. But Lieutenant Surge isn't going to be nearly as easy. Lieutenant Surge runs a fighting type gym, and while not many of their moves are able to affect my Pokemon, their ace is a menacing Houndoom Gallade with Stab Bite, meaning that one hit from this wrecks almost any of my Pokemon. But I once again have a plan, and it involves our most adorable party member yet. We fused Carl the Drifloon with a Pikachu, Lieutenant Surge's natural enemy. Look at them, they're adorable. They actually don't look much like a ghost type at all, but who cares, they're mine. Side note, we also managed to evolve Fart, but I'm hoping this is just an awkward puberty stage before they blossom into something beautiful. But now let's take on the gym. We led with Parker against Lieutenant Surge's first Pokemon, a Nosepass Mankey, who sets up Stealth Rock. Once we switch Parker out, we'll never be able to switch them back in. Lieutenant Surge proceeds to then switch to a Fletchling Machop for some reason. This doesn't have a Dark type move or anything that can break Wonder Guard, so it's essentially just a free KO. We take those. Lieutenant Surge then follows with their ace in the hole, Houndoom Gallade. While this thing is menacing, it's time to enact our plan, which unfortunately involves sacking the happiest little feller we've ever seen. Rest well, sweet Prince Carl. You are now a true ghost. Carl's sacrifice lets us switch in Ryuji safely, who's able to tank a bite and get off a quad effective Draining Kiss to nearly fully heal themselves. After we've defeated their warrior dog, we just need to finish off their Mankey Nosepass and get the victory. But at what cost? At what cost? After sulking our way through Dark Cave, which remains my least favorite Pokemon mechanic, I mean, it's just not fun. Who likes this? We managed to catch a Litwick, which we pretty quickly fused with the Sneasel. Because of the melting wax, I decided to name them Mr. 3 because god damn I love One Piece. Also, I lost the footage, but an old man in Dark Cave gives you a Honedge, so here you go.
Whoopee a Honedge.
After Dark Cave, we finally arrive at Lavender Town. Now that I'm a ghost type trainer, it's not really that scary, it's more exciting. I'm eager to get into Lavender Tower, but we can't yet. We can, however, take on Dildong. I'm gonna take this Dildong just all the way. This was Mr. 3's time to prove themselves, taking down several of their, god damn damn it, they copied us. Mr. 3, I'm gonna keep using you for now, but it'll never be the same knowing that Dildong has one. A man named Mr. Fuji is being harassed, but frankly, it's not my problem. I'd rather just start making my way to Celadon City so I can catch a Mimikyu, the perfect physical powerhouse for a ghost type run like this. Against my better judgment, I steal an Eevee so I can fuse Mimikyu with Vaporeon. Vaporeon and Gardevoir on the same team? This ghost run might just be the spirit of my dead dignity. Meet Mr. Hat. Next stop is taking on Team Rocket in the sewers. Their fusion Pokemon have evolved, but it just makes ours stronger. First, Fart is slowly leaving puberty and becoming a Lairon Haunter. Definitely a treat for the eyes, probably not for the nose. But their beauty does not compare to this haunting Gardevoir and Duskull. Look at the cute little Ralts arriving from their grave. Well, let's ignore the creeping reality of our own mortality and instead evolve them again into a Dusclops Gardevoir. And now we can finally take on Giovanni. Surprisingly, their Dark and Poison type Honchkrow Weezing does not in fact have a Dark type move or a move to poison us, so we're safe to press the Parker button and slowly, and I mean slowly, whittle down their health. I never expected Smeargle to be the powerhouse of this run, but hey, I sacrificed 2 great shiny Pokemon for it, it better be good. But they can't do everything. It's time for our other members to shine, specifically Ryuji. A Will-O-Wisp and Draining Kiss combo is enough to put their Zoroark Persian, Kecleon Rhyperior, and Smeargle Gengar into the dirt. Oh my god, Ryuji's a monster. That victory earns us a Silph Scope, which means we finally unlocked Lavender Tower, and we can catch the 4 remaining ghost types I can get in this run. I'm so excited I head there as fast as possible, and definitely don't forget anything important in Celadon City. The final couple ghost types we can add to our box are a Shuppet, Misdrevius, Yamask, and of course, Spiritomb, who will definitely be important, just you wait. With these final ghost types, we're finally ready to battle Koga, who's running a dark type gym. Okay, in all seriousness though, we need to change our team. Parker is essentially useless for this gym, so we need to create 2 more fusions to fill it. First of all, we need something super effective, so another fairy type Pokemon fusion should help, and we fuse Miss Magius with our only fairy type in the box, Klefki. A magic glyph? Better name it Lose. And second, we're able to fuse Shuppet with Crocodile to create Irwin, constantly ready for Halloween with his funky little cloak, and right away, he's ready to evolve. Twice, actually. Look at this big, nasty boy. But he's not alone, because Mr. 3 is experimenting with their sexuality, finding a rather suggestive evolution. Fart, on the other hand, is evolving and backsliding right back into his awkward teenage era, but hey, it was good while it lasted. Let's take our new Pokemon for a test run and take on Koga. We lead with Lose and begin our master strategy. Spam Drain Kiss. Lose is unexpectedly a tanky monster. Draining Kiss turns them into a perpetual pain machine. They're able to constantly heal more than Koga is able to deal damage. They chew through Zoroark Reniculus, Weavile Talonflame, and their Honchkrow Gardevoir. Damn, someone called Disney and tell them to bring the Owl House back. But we do run into a problem with Terra. Not that they're really strong, it's just we ran out of PP for Draining Kiss. We switch in Mr. 3 so that they can get out a Will-O-Wisp so we can then switch in Mr. Hat. I'm just now realizing I named 2 of my Pokemon Mr. This thing is a ground type, so Mr. Hat is able to do the troublesome job of whittling down with muddy water, but that almost proves too deadly and we barely survive. So we finish out the behemoth with Ryuji, who they just spam Draining Kiss. Why didn't we do that in the first place? Stick to the plan, Moop! That's 5 gym badges down, and next step is heading towards Saffron City, where Team Rocket is throwing a fit. Their Pokemon are terrifying, but nothing we can't handle. The real problem is frickin' Dildong, who insists on shoving themselves into any hole right before we can fight Giovanni. Dildong leads with their now evolved Whimsicott Luxray, but hot damn is it good to use Parker again. A 0-risk victory right here. Parker is also able to finish off their Fracture Shelgon, but we need to switch them out before their Macargo Milotic burns them. This thing is a monster. They end up burning Mr. Hat, poisoning Lose, and burning Irwin before I made the dumb mistake of keeping them in and they ended up dying. Swing low, sweet chariot. Ironically, it's Parker, the very Pokemon we vowed to save, who finishes the beast off, as well as the rest of their Pokemon. Oh, and now Dildong wants to help me in a double battle? Bro, you just killed one of my Pokemon, go eat a dick. Apparently, Giovanni was here to mass produce Master Balls, but who cares? My Pokemon's dead and I want a gym badge. Sabrina is running a fairy gym, so it's time for our starter Pokemon Fart to finally metamorphosize into a Gengar Aggron. This thing is sick, it looks like a Shogun, and with access to both steel and poison type moves, they're a menace to this gym. But it never hurts to have more firepower, so we also fuse a Cofagrigus Muck to create what looks like a dual monster from Yu-Gi-Oh! It's amazing, and I dub the Raw. With these two behemoths, let's take on Sabrina, leading with the one, the only, Parker again, who has become the cornerstone of this playthrough. Her Sylveon Typhlosion is pretty tanky, I'll give it that. It took a while to take down, but it still goes down nonetheless. Next is Marowak and Mimikyu. It's a cutie patootie, but unfortunately, it doesn't have a dark type move. Next up is Azumarill Drifblim. The battle was going well thus far until I realized, no, this thing definitely has Aftermath, so I switched into Lose to finish the job and take the hit. Their final Pokemon was a gorgeous Steelix and Clefable, and not wanting Parker to steal all the glory from our team, we sent in Raw to finish the job with a couple Shadow Balls and Sludge Bombs. Can't have Parker doing all the work. But on the other hand, we can. And we will, especially when it comes to Blaine and his team of Psychic-type Pokemon. Blaine has a team of deadly Psychic-type Pokemon. We have a Ghost type and an immortal Parker. We win this fight. I'm not even going to waste the time describing it to you. At the climax of this story, Team Rocket and all of their deadly Pokemon Wait, why are you guys using Ghost type fusion? Don't rip off my style, man. They're trying to take over the world by fusing Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres into one single killer Pokemon. Now, in every Nuzlocke of this game, this Pokemon has wrecked my team. It gets 3 health bars and 3 attacks while we only get 1 Pokemon out on the field at the time. It is a Nuzlocke killer. On the other hand, they don't have dark moves. Now, I understand what y'all are thinking. I can't just use our deadly Smeargle Shedinja to carry us through every battle, so I'm trying to just use them where I can to minimize casualties, because they won't be able to help us much with the final gym fight against Giovanni, whose gym has some terrifying normal type fusions. Emphasis on terrifying. So once again, we take to fusing new Pokemon. This time, by far my favorite ghost type, Aegislash, is getting fused with an Absol to create the Holy Sword Excalibur. This thing is a tank, and with access to Sacred Sword, they're perfect for this gym. Right before we take on Giovanni's Gym, let me just save the game quickly and... Wait, why do we only have 6 gym badges? Oh shit, I forgot Erica! Okay, well, now that we actually have 7 gym badges, we can safely fight Giovanni. Giovanni leads with what seems to be a Flygon Kecleon, but we know that this is a Persian Zoroark, and we're able to take them down and burn most of Giovanni's potions here. But before we can put the cat to rest, they end up U-turning into Porygon Z Golurk, which is going to be our biggest struggle in this fight. Just like Parker, it's a normal and ghost type. See, I told you Team Rocket was biting my shit. And with moves like Dark Pulse and Earthquake, it's deadly to most of our Pokemon. Our strategy with Ryuji is to immediately burn it with a Will-O-Wisp and then press the Parker button. See, Parker doesn't have any moves that can damage this Porygon Golurk, and they don't have any moves that can damage us. But they're burned and have no more full restores, so it's really just a waiting game while I spam moves that'll do no damage. Next up to bat is the saddest Pokemon fusion I've ever seen, Marowak and Kangaskhan. Which one of you spiders designed this? Raise your hand, get out of here. This just doesn't make me happy at all. Mr. Hat is able to shield our eyes and get the job done with a couple Muddy Waters. After a quick intermission where Zoroark Persian is back out, we send in Excalibur to finish them off and the real Kecleon Flygon. All it takes is a couple Sacred Swords. Next up is Smeargle and Gengar. Wait, you have a Smeargle Ghost Fusion too? You're literally biting my shit. Let's give it some tit for tat and send out Parker. This is the most bizarre Pokemon battle I've ever had. None of our moves actually damage each other. I can only use Confuse Ray and they can only use Spore. So it's really a match of will they hit themselves in confusion enough times to kill them, or will they get access to struggle and kill us first. However, in this battle of titans, it's Parker who emerges victorious. Play lame, win games, and we're rewarded by having Ryuji ascend to their full Dusknoir Gardevoir fusion. Look at him, he's glorious. Speaking of lame, before we enter the Elite Four, we do have to battle Dildong one more time. This time, it's the Dildo that'll be taking it in the ass. They start with their Fracture Salamence, but Dragon types aren't able to do much against our fully evolved Fairy type Ryuji. Draining Kiss is just too good of a move for Nuzlocke. Other special attacking Pokemon like the Ridiculous Umbreon don't stand much of a chance against our tank either. I've never really had a Gardevoir stall Pokemon, but hey, that's what Pokemon fusions are for. But I can't keep them out forever. To take out their Whimsicott Luxray, Raw uses a Sludge Bomb. This also works against their Lampent Weavile and their Milotic Magcargo. Raw is a beast. But then we saw an old friend. This shitty, unevolved Ninjask Pawniard. Piotr. This should have been an easy fight. Yeah, we're at a bit low health, but they don't really have any super effective moves. All they're using is X's and U-turn. I don't know. Maybe it's because we tried to use Sludge Bomb instead of Brick Break. Maybe it's because we missed one of our attacks. Maybe we got cocky. But all it took was one use of Swagger and hitting ourselves in confusion once. But the first pharaoh of Egypt had fallen. You will be missed. We needed to fill the Raw-shaped hole on our team before the Elite Four. Yeah, we could bring Mr. 3 back to the party, but I had a different plan. I fused Moltres and Spiritomb to create Robin, a legendary Pokemon fusion. They will surely be critical to our team in the future. But now it's time for our final challenge, the Deadly Elite Four Gauntlet, starting off with Lorelei's Rain Team headed by her Empoleon Politoed. We lead with Ryuji, who we cleverly taught Thunder Punch to. After beating their Pokemon to a pulp for a bit, and using all of their full restores, it was time to press the win button. We sent in Parker. Their Dodrio Kingdra and Swampert Luxray could only cower in fear at our Eldritch Horror. Does this look like the face of mercy to you? Their Gyarados Mimikyu sure doesn't think so. But Lorelei still has some tricks up her sleeve, like this gorgeous Milotic Giratina. This is the age-old battle of an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. They have no moves that can hit us, but we can't do enough damage to counteract them using Recover. In the end, we both run out of PP and decide to switch our Pokemon out. We move to Mr. Hat, and they switch to a Spiritomb Pyukumuku. That we're able to defeat pretty easily. And since Mr. Hat is a powerhouse with access to Fairy-type moves, their Milotina is a sitting duck. That's one trainer down, and while Parker is literally the greatest Pokemon to ever exist, they won't be able to help us much with Bruno's Sandstorm team. Sandstorm goes through Wonder Guard, so it's up to our resident Rock-type Fart to take on Talonflame Tyranitar. We have a solid strategy of using Hypnosis to stall and restore health with leftovers that would have easily destroyed this Rock Bird if Bruno didn't decide to switch out their legendary Pokemon, Probopass Groudon. We play this pretty risky. I know they have super effective moves, but I really think getting a Hypnosis off here is gonna help us. But now it's time for our Spooky Shogun to switch out and send in our other leftover tank, Excalibur. While Probodon is asleep, we're able to set up 2 sword dances and take the Goliath out with a Sacred Sword. Our strategy for Excalibur is simple. Using King Shield, we're able to stall every other turn and get twice the healing from leftovers, and in many cases we're even able to get their Pokemon to lower their attack. Using this strategy, Excalibur cuts their way through an Octillery, Omanite, Armaldo Kabuto, and Luxray Cradilly before we face off against another behemoth in Marowak Rhyperior. Oh, wait, I just realized that Sandstorm isn't up anymore. Send in the beast! Next up is Agatha and her Poison-type team. I know which one of our Pokemons have Toxic, so I should be good as long as Parker avoids them. But the first order of business is Fart has to use Hypnosis on our Clefable Roserade so it can be put to sleep, and we can kill it before it sets up Toxic Spikes, which would make Parker completely useless. Agatha opts to switch out her Pokemon, sending in an Umbreon Weezing. Side note, look at this cutie, they're adorable! It's the cutest little tumor I've ever seen. Weirded out by my comments, Agatha made the choice to switch in her injured Pokemon, like to Sack, I guess? We take those. Fart is able to also take out a Dusknoir Vileplume and finish off Umzing, so we're good to send in Parker to destroy an Arbok Chandelure. We just gotta make sure to attack from a distance so we don't get burned. After an Ampharos Crobat, it's time for another legendary battle against Muk-Ho-Oh. But second verse is same as the first, both Parker and Muk-Ho-Oh run out of PvP, so we switch in Ryuji to tank the gooey bird as it struggles itself to death in its own mortality, drowning on its own body as this piece of— Sorry for that, I get really hyped up in Elite Four battles. It's kind of ironic in a way that my Ghost-type Nuzlocke has had the least casualties so far of any of my runs, but nevertheless, let's continue on to Lance, the Dragon Master, who has flying types, which is kind of like dragons, but without all the cool stuff. We lead with Ryuji, thinking that we could take down Togeki's Talonflame with a couple Thunder Punches, but their naturally tanky defense and a full restore dashes our hopes pretty quickly, so we must switch into Parker. At least I tried to use other Pokemon. Next up is Lance's legendary Darkrai Dragonite. This thing is a monster that could easily destroy our Eldritch Horror, so we switch into our safest Pokemon, Mr. Hat. The ability Disguise allows them to tank one hit and take no damage, which makes them the perfect Pokemon to switch into. And after a couple play roughs, the Dark Dragon falls to its knees. Mr. Hat continues their rampage, knocking out their Chandelure Skarmory with a couple Shadow Claws, but to counter the Water Puppet, Lance reveals a Sceptile Aerodactyl, and I think it's time for our secret weapon. We have a legendary Pokemon of our own, Robin, the Moltres Spiritomb, and in his very first battle, they got KO'd with a critical hit Sky Attack. Well, they were completely useless. Excalibur is here to pick up the trash though, since Septidactyl keeps trying to use the two-part Sky Attack, we're easily able to counter with King Shield and Swords Dance to fully set up, destroying both them and their Doublade Crobat fusion. We did have to rely on Mr. Hat one last time to safely take down their Aegislash Salamence though, but all in all, the Elite Four is completed. We have 5 Pokemon going into our final battle against Dildong, who has taken the lives of 2 of our beloved Pokemon. We will have our revenge. We can take the whole Dildong. We lead with our starter Pokemon, Fart, ready to take revenge against Ninjask Bisharp. Pyotr, this Fire Blast is for Raw! You have a Focus Sash. This second Fire Blast is also for Raw! Next up, we have Reniculus Umbreon, but we can fight them with our very own evolution, Mr. Hat. We had taught Mr. Hat X-Scissor in preparation, but even though it was 4 times effective, Ryurion barely survives and put an end to our lovely puppet. It's okay, your work here is done. Rest well. Not wanting this Pokemon to sweep our team, we make the risky play of sending in Parker. We get off a Confuse Ray, and with his Focus Sash, Parker survives a single Dark Pulse before we switch out into Excalibur, to barely survive and get off 2 more X-Scissors to finish the job. The next warrior to fall was our Gardevoir, Ryuji, and while they went down, they managed to take 3 behemoths with them. Salamence, Haxorus, and a triple fusion of Torterra, Infernape, and Polion fall to them before they succumb to their wounds in front of a Weavile Chandelure. Mr. 3, I'm sorry I left you behind. I should have brought you instead of Robin. But Ryuji, your sacrifice will not be in vain. The final boss of this run is a terrifying Arceus Luxray. The god among Pokemon has descended to Earth to smite us for our Wait, do you only have normal and electric type moves? Go, Parker!